first and foremost, Emoni Bates. He was arrested on Sunday night. He was driving a car. I believe he ran a stop sign. Maybe he ran through a red light, but he was pulled over. They found a gun in the car. The gun apparently had an altered ID number on it. He was arrested for 2 felonies. He spent the night in jail. He was released on bond on Monday morning, and he has since been suspended from the Eastern Michigan team. Eastern Michigan, of course, is in Ypsilanti, which is his hometown, which is where he tried to get out of when he went to Memphis for his freshman season. So I have a lot of thoughts on this. Tio, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Where do you stand on Emoni? What do you think is going to end up happening here? For the record, what his lawyer is saying is that he borrowed the car from somebody and it was not his gun. He did not even know the gun was in the car.
And now he's in a difficult position because now he's got to bail out his boy and say it was his boy's gun. And here's the thing too. Whenever I first heard it, I was like, gosh, this kid cannot get it together. There is so much going on. He goes home in the middle of the season and then he transfers back home to where everybody says he needs to get away from. And then this happens. It's like the kid can't get out of his own way. And it's just, first of all, I don't blame the kid for the stuff earlier. I think he's had people that have told him the wrong things. And I think that's hard. This part is more difficult. Did he know the gun was in the car? There's a lot of ifs and did he or did he not involved in this situation? So I feel like we need to reserve a little judgment in our dealings with Emoni Bates and you guys and how you guys have talked to him and how Jeff has described him. He doesn't seem like a brushed off serial number of a gun type of kid. So I actually think it's plausible now that it isn't his. And I hope it isn't his because I've come to a point now where it's like, God, can Emoni Bates catch a break? Like that was the first time since we've been talking about the kid, since we've been covering the kid, where I'm just like, man, he can't get out of his own way. And to be honest with you, where all of this is going, I hope he has a great year. I hope he gets back on the team soon. But obviously, you know, the judicial system and process is going to take a while, which stinks for him. It stinks for his team. But I'll be honest, guys, like the blame lies on him because you need to be a little bit more diligent. You need to know all this stuff. I mean, you have to look in the mirror at some point, right? But there comes a point where it's like, God, come on, Emoni, let's get it together. I need a feel-good story. I'm hoping that this kind of turns the tide a little bit to where he's, I'm not going to say scared straight because he wasn't a bad kid, but it's like, dude, get it together, do what you're supposed to do what you're capable of doing, because he's still a really good player. And he seemed to always be a really good kid. He's just been sheltered from the people that's around it, or they've been sheltering us from the people that's around him. Does that make sense? I don't know how I worded that correctly, but I'm rooting for the kid now. Like, especially if it's what Steve Haney said it was. And Steve Haney's his lawyer, as you referred to.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw this news, I was sad.
Yeah.
It made me sad.
Me too.
It really did. We cover the sport. We cover players and coaches, but we're humans too. And at the end of the day, I want these kids to do what they strive to do and live out a dream. And anybody who doesn't want that is wrong. And for me, I just think when you look at the potential that this kid had at one point, and I know it's just a word. I know potential is just a word. But when you look at the setup, right, at 14, 15 years old, you sit there and say, could be great, right? Could be great. The contrast from that to where he currently is, not only as a basketball player, but more importantly, a human being, could not be sharper. It could not be greater of a difference. Just when you thought what has been the toughest of scenarios for Emoni now to fight through it and get his career on track. The reason why T.O.'s saying I just wanted to get a break is because right now he's living a nightmare even worse than he could have dreamed of living. And that's where my heart breaks. Because, guys, at the end of the day, when we talk about people being adults and you're a man and you're 18, he's 18 years old. The fact of the matter is this, is that throughout his last 5 years of development, throughout any person's development in this age group, 15, 16, 17, now he's 18 years old, you are still getting influenced. You are getting told what to do to a degree. You're getting advice from people inside your home and around your home. And the fact of the matter is, and I don't want to be too critical here because that stays between Emoni and his family, but it is very clear. It is very clear that, and I'm not going to point fingers at one person. It's just clear that throughout these last couple of years, that there are some directions in which this kid has either turned himself or been turned to that frankly just aren't the best directions from my opinion. From my opinion. I wish him the damn best. I wish Emoni Bates the very best, but I can't help but look at this story and say, I hope that what he's saying is true, that those weren't his guns, and I hope he gets back on the court. But between legal proceedings and now the mental health effect that this could have on him, waiting and seeing, this is Emoni Bates' worst nightmare, and I really feel bad for the kid.
Yeah.
To me, this is exactly why it was a horrible idea to go back to Ypsilanti. Why it was a horrible idea to go back home when you're Emoni Bates and you're trying to rebuild your image and rebuild your brand and rebuild who you are as a basketball player, to put you back into a situation where you are hanging around people that are going to have guns with altered ID numbers on them, right? Like it was a bad idea to go the way that he went. And at some point you have to lay the blame at the feet of Emoni. Like he's his own man, right? When you're 18, 19 years old, you got to take some responsibility for your decisions, some responsibility for the things that you do. But I think over the course of his entire life, some of it his own fault, some of it through the fault of people around him, some of it through the fault of people like us that laid a certain level of hype and expectation on him that was probably unfair for a kid his age. A lot of people have failed him, but I just, it's sad, man.
Yes, it is.
It's sad and it's frustrating. And I do think that I hope he figures it out, because that's a waste of.
He's still a puppy.
Yeah, it's a waste of talent and a waste of ability. Like, and the thing we forget about this, right, is it feels like he's been around forever, right? It feels like he's been in the public eye forever because he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was 14 years old. But like he's not even 19. The reason why he's back in college right now is because he was born on January 28th, 2004, which means that he was too young by 4 weeks to go to the 2022 NBA draft. He's not even 19 years old. Yeah. So there's still a lot of room for him to grow and develop and mature. And when you think about all of the dumb things that you did when you were 18 years old, like everybody listening to this, me included, I am glad that I did not have the public spectacle on me when I was kind of figuring things out at that age. So I do want to talk to you guys about one thing, though, because Dinos Dragonis, who's a guy that I like, who's done good things for me. He runs a lot of camps. He put out a tweet where he said, "This Emoni Bates news is beyond sad. It's heartbreaking. What's also problematic here is all the adults and corporate entities like ESPN's Paul Biancardi and Adam Finkelstein, who helped create an ecosystem of entitlement around the kid and gave him a false sense of NBA future glory." I pretty strongly disagree with Dino's take there for a couple of reasons, and I want to get you guys' take on this. But first and foremost, like, I think in this specific instance, you were right that the hype around Emoni got a little bit out of control. His father was able to find a way to snag 2 shoe deals with Nike, one for a prep school that he created and one for the AAU program that he built, Bates Fundamentals. I think that certainly did not help things. I think that telling a 14-year-old that he's going to be the next Kevin Durant is the wrong way to do it and the wrong way to handle things. But I do think overall, like, the culture around AU basketball, for the most part, like if you look at the kids that are coming out these days, for the most part, all of these like 5 stars and the kids that are top 10 recruits are generally really good kids. And I do think that part of that is because if you look at like the most recent generation of NBA stars, you have a lot of guys that are they've made it cool to be smart, to be business savvy, to be cognizant of your brand, to be generally good people, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So I think that it's wrong to kind of paint. There's a lot of things that we need to change in grassroots culture and the way that we handle young, up and coming 15 to 16 years old. We talked about that after the Boozer and what's the other kid's name? T.O. The game from yeah. So we talked about that a couple of podcasts ago, and I don't think we necessarily need to rehash that. I just think overall, in general, the system works pretty well. I think it's wrong to criticize an institution for one example that did not work out the way that we wanted it to. Is that fair?
We're dropping our merch. We got to start calling Underwood Daddy Brad. But I'm a big pod guy. Breaking news. The Field of 68 has an online store, and it's your one-stop shop for the latest and greatest merch in college basketball and college football. You can find shirts to support your favorite team, make fun of your rival team, or boast Field of 68 catchphrases like Daddy Brad, Cussin' and Discussin', and the Star Heels. Go to www.fieldof68.shop today and enter promo code TOUCHDOWN for 20% off at checkout.
Totally fair. You're absolutely right. I mean, you can't just take an outlier and make it what the theme is.
Yeah.
So I disagree with that tweet. I think it's an overreaction in the moment, and that's all that needs to be said about it. And for the most part, guys, that's what social media is. It's one big overreaction. It's why we love it, but it can be divisive. I mean, and I think that tweet is in the wrong, because you're generalizing something that is, this is unlike any sort of case that we've really seen. I mean, again, you said it. It seems like he's been around forever. The guy, I know that you went like this, but like the guy was proclaimed to be the next Kevin Durant at 14 years of age.
No, I hear you, and I agree with you. I think the most apt compare, and I wasn't shaking my head disagreeing. I was thinking like, I think the most apt comparison is Renardo Sidney, who at 14 everyone was like, oh, this guy's the next Magic. This guy's the next Chris Webber.
Good name, Paul.
He had a lot of very, very similar situations. He ended up moving and going to LA to go play on like a superstar AAU team. And
Finkelstein called him Felipe Lopez, and I was like, that's a good one.
That's a good one too.
Yep.
I flipped. He was a little bit before my time, but I do think that like it's this generation.
The hype was insane though.
He's this generation's Renardo Sidney in my mind.
So I have a question for Terrence, because he's a former player and at an ACC level. I just and I'm thinking of how we move forward in this discussion. And my question to you, T.O., is if Emoni Bates came inside your office right now and sat across from you, what would your message be to Emoni Bates in the here and now?
Like, what would be the next move, or
what do you tell him?
There's not a whole lot he can do. That's the big thing. Like, there's not a whole lot he can do. Like, he needs to get out from under this rock. He needs to go have a great season, and then he needs to figure out his next move. Like, he needs to stay in his dorm room, not go out, which is pretty much what everybody thought he was doing anyway. He was basically been in a cocoon since he was 14. And a lot of the mistakes that here's the thing too. All right. So this is kind of self-reflective right now, but one of the best things I ever did in my life was going to Europe instead of staying at Clemson. And one of the reasons why, for my life, not my basketball career, that's a majorly different thing. It was one of the best things in my life. It was one of the worst things for my basketball career. The reason it was one of the best things for my life was because now all my mistakes were my own. And now Emoni's figuring out, like, my mistakes are my own right now. Nobody can hide me. Nobody can figure it out before it gets to the press. My mistakes are my own. So now there's immediate repercussions for his actions. His dad's not going to be able to fix this. Whoever else is not going to be able to fix this. But he needs to get away to where his actions are his own. Nobody else is bothering him. And we talked a little bit about this before it was announced that he was going to Eastern Michigan. Like, what's he going to do? I hope he gets away. And what does he do? He goes right back home. So, but now he's created a situation through obviously due process. Let's obviously due process is involved, but he's created a situation where it's like nobody can save him right now. Steve Haney's going to try, but it's like your situation, you've created that yourself.
Yeah, I get that. You're right. And innocent until proven guilty. And there certainly is the plausible excuse that this was somebody else's car. This wasn't his gun. It would be very easy to determine if that is his car, right? All you have to do is just check the registration. But
what would have been great for him, this is kind of off the beaten path, but I heard whispers of him potentially going and playing for a team over in Serbia that has these first round picks every year.
Yep.
And my first is called Mega. I heard whispers of that. And that would have been terrific for him as a person. And when I say that is, it would have been pretty well insulated. He would have had to go to practice every day, and he would have been around a different person, to where like Serbians, like they go to practice. That's what they're doing. They're going there 2 hours in the morning. They're going there 2 hours in the evening. There's not a whole lot of room for nonsense after that. And not only that, if something would have happened, it would have been on him. And now he's got this cocoon around him. That's kind of
my thought. And I said this,
he would never have made it. I think he would have come home in a month.
Yeah.
If he could have gotten through it, I think it would have been perfect for him.
I said from the jump that he should have gone to the G League Ignite program. Get away from everything at home. Get away from all of those distractions. Get away from everything and make the main thing be the main thing again. Make basketball be the reason that you're doing things, not whatever else. Once you get to the point that you are at, like a LeBron level or a CP3 level or a Devin Booker level, where you're a star in the NBA and you are established and you're one of the best in the best league in the world, then you can start worrying about, like, I need to add this, I need to add that, I need this shoe deal, I need this cologne deal, I need this brand, I need this, I need that. You need to make it be none of that happens if basketball is not what makes you a superstar.
Is cologne what came to your mind when it came to sponsorships? I'm just curious. Cologne.
I don't know. I was just going, man.
Okay.
Do you know what else? For it
Sorry.
to be the main thing, for him to let the main thing be the main thing, the people in his circle have to let the main thing be the main thing. They need to let him
go.
You got to let him go. You've got to what is it? It's the hardest thing. Parents say it all the time, how hard it is to let go, how hard it is to do that. And I think part of it, like when you get to the level that he was getting hyped up to be, I think that certainly meant that his circle, all of a sudden, is going to have people wanting to get inside it, to a point that maybe some of the smarter people the people that are inside his household aren't even letting in. You have to remember there's still some people that really do know what they're talking about, because they've done this. They've been on this road. And I think in a way that cocoon has defeated its own purpose in this whole journey. It's sad. It's tough to see. But I also think to go blaming Paul Biancardi and to go blaming Finkelstein for doing their jobs, they're evaluators, guys. They're evaluators. They've gotten evaluations right. They've gotten evaluations wrong. They would tell us that. To simply blame that and say that it's because of corporate opinions and big brands who proclaim these kids to be this, that, and the third, come on. You could say that he got hyped up to an unreal level, but to start blaming people for his downfall and demise, I fully believe that's short-sighted, because at the end of the day, it is on not just the kid, but his family and the people closest to him to manage him. Paul Biancardi and Adam Finkelstein are not the reason why Emoni Bates was arrested over the weekend. They're just not.
Yeah, I said this earlier, but there are lots of things that need to get changed in the world of grassroots basketball and AAU basketball, and the way that social media and our culture hypes up some of these 15, 16, 17 years old. That is 100% true. And for the record, the last time that we talked about this, it was because of a column that Fink wrote. I know Fink well enough. I've had conversations with him about this. Like I don't, he wants that to change. I can't speak on being car. I don't know. I think I've had one conversation with Paul in my life, but I know Fink well enough to know that he wants that to change. So throwing him under the bus is probably not something that's fair in this situation. And I'll end it with this. There have been plenty of incredibly overhyped players over the course like the last 10 years that have come out and gone on to be fine. Yeah, maybe every single one of them is not reaching the levels of Kevin Durant, right? But there's lots of top 10, top 15 recruits that have had those shoe company deals, that have had this, that, and the third, that have made it to the NBA, that have made life-changing money, that have been able to alter the direction that their family path goes because of their ability, despite the fact that they're considered.
Wasn't Josh Jackson the number one player in his class?
Yeah, he was. That's another situation where
well, but I mean, but with that being all said, he's made a lot of money and he's turned out.
He's made a lot of money, and that is
like our standard for success needs to come down a little bit.
If you make the league, if you're identified as a 16-year-old and you make the NBA, you've made it. You've 100% made it. Just because you didn't find the right fit or injuries took this away, or you weren't able to be more than just like a sixth man on an NBA rotation. You don't realize how fucking hard it is to be the sixth man on an NBA team.
Yeah.
Do people realize that? If you're one of the 200 best in the world at your job, which means, like, let's just put it like this. There are 10 classes of players generally in the NBA, right? About 10 years. And if you're one of the if you're a starter in the NBA, just a regular old run-of-the-mill starter, the worst starter on your team, you're one of the top 150 players in the world, right? And if you are a top 10 player in your class and you end up as one of the top 150 players in the world, you lived up to your hype. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain this to people. Not everybody is going to end up being fucking Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Making the league, having an 8-year career in the NBA, if you're projected as a 5-star recruit, then you probably outperformed what the expectation was for you in your basketball career. People need to understand that. It is very, 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 the hardest job to get in the entire world is an NBA basketball player. There's 510 of those jobs, if you include the two-way contracts. Drives me crazy.
Bold statement.
What's going on, guys? Rob Doster here, the founder of the Field of 68 and the Field of 12 Media Networks. I wanted to take a quick minute to let you guys know about an exciting new project that we have been working on for the last 3 months. The Almanac, an all-encompassing preview of the 2022-23 college basketball season. We spoke with every single Division I head coach to give you a robust and accurate preview for all 363 Division I college basketball teams. We have predictions for conference finishes for all 32 leagues. We have features on the best freshmen, the best big men, the breakout stars, the coaches on the hot seat, so much more. It is 600,000 words of sheer happiness for the college basketball fan in your life. The Almanac is going to be available for digital purchase on September 26th for just $19.99, but you can pre-order it today using the promo code HOOPS and save 20%. Just hit the link in the description below.